31st at any New Year's Eve party that you're going to be at. What do you think? Let me know at Bonang_M on Twitter. It's Black Coffee featuring Nakhane Toure with Dance Again on Metro FM. Before this, I gave you Nati featuring Vusi Noah with Nomaganjani. 11:35 Metro FM is where you are at. It's a Celebrity Wednesdays. We continue to celebrate incredible artists from the Eastern Cape. A big thank you to Vusi Noah for coming through. He's one of the two celebrity crushes I have today, and it's such an honor finally to sit down with this young man who I find you so fascinating. He is on the show, on the song that we just played, Nakhane Toure.
Yes.
Welcome to Metro FM.
Thank you for having me.
You really fascinate me.
Tell me why.
I don't know. We'll get into we'll get into that right now. But welcome to Metro FM. It is such an honor to finally sit down with you.
Really
and you are also from the Eastern Cape. You were born in Alice in 1988.
1988.
Before we get to where you are right now, the same question I asked Vusi, your love for music, where did it begin? Do you remember?
Yeah, I remember. Everyone in my family sang in choirs. I mean, they all did those choir festivals, those old mutual choir festivals where they sing like Mozart and Handel, Zilili stuff.
Yes.
So I used to tag along to a lot of those practices and those festivals as well. So I was very involved in that aspect of music. And when I started school, so everyone sang really well. So when I started school, I started singing as well, and I started playing every instrument that existed in school, and it really started there. I mean, I remember when I was 7 years old, I was given a solo to sing Silent Night in a Christmas Carol evening, and I remember I was wearing corduroy pants and a checked shirt, and I remember thinking, I'm going to be doing this for the rest of my life.
That's incredible. I remember there was, you were, I don't want to call you an underground artist, but you had a niche market. You were very eclectic, and you obviously, appeal to a certain type of market until 2013 when your debut album Brave Confusion was nominated for Best New Artist at the South African Music Awards. And I remember this frenzy around Nakhane Toure and media and interviews and articles in newspapers and all of that. When you finally got that nod from the South African industry to say,
hey, we see you.
We see you. How did that feel? After writing music and falling in love with music for such a long time.
It was confusing. It still is a little confusing. I never thought that anyone would ever care. I mean, I wanted people to care. I still want people to care. But that niche market was the only market that I thought would ever like my music. Yeah. So when I remember the day that the summer nomination party was held, or the announcement. I was like, do you want to come to the nomination? I was like, no, I'm not going to be nominated for anything. Yeah. So when you got there, I was nominated for 4. Yeah. Which was really confusing for me.
Best alternative. Best new artist.
Yeah.
And what else? What were the
Best
other two?
male artist and album of the year. It was really big ones, and I won best alternative, which was the one I wanted.
Really?
Because black people don't win best alternative. So here I was kicking the door.
Talking about black people who make alternative music. Yeah. Very few.
No, they're not. It's just that they're not recognized. In my opinion, the last few albums that OK Badu has released were alternative albums.
And I'm talking about South African.
South African,
yes.
Black Jacks, Brother Moves On. There's a slew of artists going on. There's a lot of great alternative music happening in Joburg. It's just mainstream media is not touching it.
Back to that market that we were talking about. Yeah. Why did you choose that particular genre?
It was music I loved. I mean, it was interesting because a lot of people were asking, so how do you mix all this kind of music? I don't sit down and think like, okay, let me mix Afropop with rock music. It was just the music that I loved, that I grew up with. And so what you do, I mean, ideation comes from some reserve of something that you know, that you've experienced in your life. None of your ideas are actually original at all. Yeah. So when you sit down to create something, you're pulling from of things that you've experienced. So my mother's music, my father's music I listened to as a child, music I've heard on radio, etc., etc. So when I sat down with the guitar and wrote those songs, all that information that I collected over the years just created Brave Confusion.
And you had a very big year in 2013. I mean, you were a cover of Rolling Stone South Africa, and then fast forward to 2014, you were again nominated for Best Alternative at the MTV Africa Music Awards. Yeah. How was that? Being put. It's one thing to be good in South Africa. It's another thing to be put on a big platform and being recognized by MTV.
I was excited. I mean, it was. I'm always You know, I don't seem like one of those people like because I hate fake humility. But people are like, I didn't know it was me. You know,
Yes.
I hate that stuff because I find it disingenuous. But I was happy, but I was just like all these really big artists who I felt like I was sort of an alien. In this
And you didn't
land.
feel the pressure.
No,
You didn't at all. You were just like, oh, I'm just making music, trying to be fabulous, just, you know, putting together things that I love. You didn't feel the need to keep bringing music in so that you're up there with the other nominees and other artists in that particular category genre?
I'm not doing it for that.
Okay.
You see, I mean, like, I'm not, I mean, God, I'm sound so pretentious. Listen to you.
Yeah.
But I mean, I see myself as a multimedia artist. So
Got
I
you.
mean, I just published my debut novel. I work in photography and and music, etc. It just happened that music was the first one to become a thing.
And what people don't know is that you wrote the book
Yeah,
long before you started writing
yeah,
music.
yeah.
And I want us to get into that because your brand new novel was published in October, right?
In October,
It's
yeah.
called Piggy Boys Blues.
Piggy Boys Blues.
And there's some very controversial things that you've said in that book, around that book, about
Like
you
what?
know, things. No, don't worry. We'll get there. If you have any questions for Nakhane, 089 110 3377. Indeed, radio on Metro FM is where you're at. 11:46. It is a Celebrity Wednesday. Nakhane Toure is right here on the front row with myself, Queen Bee, on the mighty Metro FM, and he wanted us to play some Pure Dana because she's one of her inspirations. We are celebrating incredible artists from the Eastern Cape. In case you don't know who he is, Nakhane Toure, born in Alice in the Eastern Cape, raised in Port Elizabeth in 1988, was nominated for numerous awards in 2013, has been on the cover of Rolling Stone, is currently on the cover of Black Magazine, and he just published his brand new novel in October called
Piggy Boys Blues.
Piggy Boys Blues. Now, Nakhane, right? For
Yes.
people that don't know, your family from the Eastern Cape is part of a chiefdom,
Yes.
and you're saying the chiefdom is?
Was the chief at the moment? I think was actually elected as the chief of the entire Siskai.
Yeah.
His name is Chief Bonang Mavuso.
And Nakhane Mavuso, growing up in the Eastern Cape, in a family that's part of a chiefdom, and you are gay. For people that don't know, you're gay, and in your book, you talk about some of the childhood tragedies, you know, growing up in a very in Eastern Cape. They're very closeted. I won't say they're against homosexuality, but they're quite. I think there are a lot of black families still, black cultures that are very closeted. And you talk about some of your traumas in your book. How was unpacking all of that for you?
Well, I want to preface this answer with the fact that the book is not an autobiography or a memoir. I'm 27 years old, so what do I know? You know, it's a novel, it's fiction, and as much as it is fiction, it does. I do use a lot of things that happened to me in my life.
Yes.
And I mean, the idea of a chieftaincy in 2015 is very interesting. It's a double-edged sword in the sense that it's recognized, but at the same time it isn't by certain people. But that was the point of apartheid. It was to water down certain powers within the black community.
But let's water it down to your personal
To my
traumas. Yeah, one of the personal traumas that growing up gay in the Eastern Cape that you could share with us.
Well, I mean, you're othered a lot. You know, a lot of young. I mean, I was called Murphy all the time to the point where it meant nothing by the end. I was like, okay, and then
It's sort of.
you've been saying this since I was
You've sort of.
5. You know,
that we need.
yeah, and I guess that made it. And I was lucky. I mean, to be in a family that was at the end there quite supportive of who I was, and I didn't have to pretend to be someone else.
Got
know?
you.
Yeah.
And you studied at Wits. You were a
did.
former literature student.
Yeah.
And you know, you started writing short stories at a very young age. And you said when you started penning this book, it was just a way of you just kind of writing down the things that you were going through, and you didn't think it would be a published novel. Where did that decision happen?
To want to publish it.
Yeah.
I wrote this short story just purge for fun.
Yeah.
Well, not for fun because it wasn't fun, but I was walking through the English department and there was a short story competition. And I thought, hey, let me just submit this to see if my writing is any good. And I was competing against honors and master students, and it didn't win or anything, but it got honorable mention. And I thought, oh, maybe there's actually talent here, and I worked on it and made it a novel. But over the years, over the 7 years I've been writing the novel, it became this big, gross, impenetrable thing. And then before, just as I got my publication, my publishing deal with Blackbird Books, which is an input of Nakhane, I left Joburg to go rewrite the novel.
Because you hated it.
I hated it. I just thought it was so self-serious and self-righteous and full of itself. And I hate to read a book that's snotty, that when you read it, like the writer feels like he's cleverer than you. You know, you don't feel like you're included in the story.
Got you.
And I felt like that book was like that. So I went to the Eastern Cape to my uncle's house and I completely ripped apart work that I've been working on for 7 years and restarted from scratch.
I mean, for somebody that's going to read Piggy Boy's Blues,
Yeah.
it was therapeutic for you.
Yeah.
What would you want the end reader to experience?
I mean, the story is a story that every black person can see themselves in my opinion. And I was writing it for black South Africans. And I wanted them to see themselves and to, because a lot of our literature sometimes doesn't talk about what we go through in detail. So I wanted to sort of, to get in those details and into our spirituality, into our
sexuality,
into our politics, into our fun,
and start asking ourselves exactly. Yeah. But let's talk about the cover of that book. Yeah. Goodness gracious me!
Yeah, go for it.
What did you say to your mother?
Well, okay.
For anybody that hasn't seen the cover, it is a cover of.
It's
naked boy.
It's sort of a silhouette of a running figure in a domestic setting.
Yes.
It's kind of there's sort of a lot of hysteria and madness, and I love it. But I mean, when I went to the Eastern Cape to rewrite the novel, when I took a camera with me just in case I would get blocked, and and when I did get blocked and I didn't have anything to write on the hour, I took self-portraits, and that was one of them.
All right. But you recently said in a Times magazine article that, you know, being gay in South Africa can get life-threatening. Has anybody threatened your life?
That was in 2013.
Or do you know? You know, was there
when
experience
I said that when I said that there were it was the time of the corrective rape epidemic.
Ah, okay.
So I mean, I was afraid for my friends. I was afraid for myself. It was easy. It's easy for me to sit here in the studios and be fabulously gay in my safe spaces, and tell people to come out. But there are certain safe spaces in this country where you cannot do that.
Absolutely.
It can be life-threatening.
Yeah.
And I feel like, I mean, when I said that, there was interpretation because I thought that I would get slagged for that.
And you didn't actually.
I didn't, because it was
people
true.
really, they received you. They were like, finally somebody said something. Finally somebody is kind of free and uninhibited and just going out there and celebrating who they are.
Yeah.
But you know, between Nakhane, the author,
Yes.
the singer and songwriter, what is the thread that runs between all those mediums and platforms?
Honesty. A word that I really dislike is authenticity, because I feel like it has bearings in certain ideals which are very Western, like, oh, you're authentic, you have an acoustic guitar and you're singing and you've got like dreads.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? And you're not authentic if you're playing keyboard, if you're playing electronic music.
Gotcha.
So in all my work, the thread that ties everything together is the fact that I'm honest and uncompromising about the human nature.
Got you. So what is next for you after the novel? Where can we see you? Where can we find you? What are you doing next? How are you changing the world and freeing us as well in the process with your incredible work?
Hopefully freeing myself. Well, I'm just finishing off work on an EP which should be out in the first 2 weeks of November.
Okay.
Last week on Thursday I shot the video which should be out next week. So
Nice.
I'm just keeping busy, staying home, I'm
I love
reading,
that.
talking to my publisher about the second novel. Just working, you know.
All right. Your name is Nakhane.
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 Also it means build each other up.
Build each other up. Nakhane.
Nakhane.
And Toure?
Toure was, I adopted the surname from one of my favorite West African musicians. His name is Palifaka Toure, and he's from Mali.
What's your surname?
Mavuso.
Mavuso. Nakhane
Nakhane
Mavuso.
Mavuso.
Beautiful. You fascinate me. There's so many layers to you.
Thank you.
And you are weird and wonderful. And I love that because you've got an opinion and you are brave, and it shows in your music, in your craft, and the things you say. And I wish you the best of luck. I mean, the reason why we brought you here was because I'm just completely obsessed with you. And I love that Black Coffee, found you and put you on that incredible song. How was that, putting that We Dance Again song together and getting the call from Black Coffee?
You know what? Two friends had sent him a message saying, "Listen to this guy's music," because initially they wanted him to just remix a song from my album, and he, according to him, he says he was going to Zimbabwe to play a festival there, and he was listening to my album over and over and over again. He wanted to work with me, so he tweeted me. And I remember because at the time I had a song called Christopher, and we were editing the video, so we were in the editing suite, and we were watching the edit, and I got a tweet, and it said, "Hey man, Nakhane Toure," and it said Black Coffee. Really loved the music.
Incredible.
And I looked at it, I was like, oh my god, it is him. Anyway, followed him back, he followed me, and then he
exchanged, and then
said, "Let's work together."
And then that was it.
And we co-wrote the song together. It actually took quite a while because we were reworking it, and it was a complete 50-50 collaboration, which I thought it wouldn't be because he's humongous. He doesn't have to listen to me.
No, the thing is about Black Coffee, he's musical.
He
That's
really,
the thing.
really is.
He
really is. I mean,
and he has an ear for things that are I don't know, that we ordinary people can't hear. He fascinates me. He's like you.
completely.
But anyway, we've run out of time. I love and appreciate your work. I'm going to be buying Piggy Boy's Blues. Because after what you said, I really want to read the novel and just kind of, see what you've been through.
Thank you.
And thank you so much for coming.
Thank you so much for
I
having
wish you
me.
the best of luck. We Dance Again is a massive song. You won't get any rest this festive season, yourself and Black Coffee, because you'll be performing all over the country. But I wish you love and joy and happiness and all the success in the world.
As do I to you.
Yeah, so it is at Nakhane _
No, at Nakhane Toure.
At Nakhane Toure.
Nakhane Toure.
There you go, it's 11:57.